Are you training for your first marathon? Or maybe you've run a few marathons, but you feel like you don't know what you're doing? Well, I know how you feel, because I've been there. But I just ran my 12th marathon, and I've learned a lot from each one of those marathons and each one of those training cycles to prepare for those marathons. And I've learned most of that stuff from all my mistakes I've made because I didn't know what I was doing. So today, I'm gonna give you 10 things that you need to know so that you don't make the same mistakes I made. And so that you can show up to your race fit, strong, prepared, confident, and ready to run your best marathon. Today we're talking about marathon mistakes and lessons learned. Hey, what's going on? Matthew here. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're joining me for the very first time, welcome to Veloz Running, where we talk about all things running. And if you could do me a huge favor, it doesn't cost you anything, but it sure does help me a lot. And that's slide your hand down, hit that subscribe button, and smash that like button for me. Today we're talking about marathon mistakes and lessons learned. All the lessons that I learned through 12 marathon training cycles. I've just ran my 12th marathon. It's December 2025. I ran it a few weeks ago. Went back and completed something that I didn't get to finish last year because I got injured and I got sick. So it was cool to go back there and finally get it done. I have my medal right here. Finally got it done. So yeah, it's a huge accomplishment. It was cool to go back. But as I was sitting around just kind of thinking about the marathon, I was thinking back about all my marathons, 12 marathons, and all the things that I've learned along the way and all the mistakes that I've made. And they say that less than 1% of the world's population has ever run a marathon, less than 1%. So it's a very exclusive group, and I'm happy to be a part of it. But even though that's a small group, every year I talk to people that tell me that they're running their very first marathon, or I hear about people that are running their very first marathon. So every year, more and more people are attempting to be part of that exclusive group of being a marathoner. And I encourage you, if you're out there and just one of your thoughts, do it. It's an amazing experience, and you'll never be the same again. But with that said, it is a very hard and difficult thing to do. And so I was thinking about all the mistakes that I've made, and I thought, you know what, I want to help make a video and help people out because I don't want y'all to make the same mistakes I made. Mistakes I made mostly because I didn't know what I was doing. Along the way, I did get some people to help me out. I had to, it was just too painful. So I finally got around some people that were seasoned marathoners and gave me some advice. But even then, it's just mistakes that you learn, a lot of trial and error, what works best for you also. And so I just want to share these marathon mistakes and lessons learned to try to help you out so that you don't make the same mistakes I made, and so that you have a little bit better journey than I did. I'm not going to talk about marathon mistakes in any particular order as far as importance. It's not one more important than the other. I'm actually just going to go through a training cycle from beginning to end. Let's say you decided to run a marathon, and how you would start and go through it all the way up to the marathon. And just along the way, how I made mistakes and the things that I've learned. I'm going to share them in that order, in particular order. So I hope this helps you out, especially if you're about to run a marathon, you're thinking about running a marathon, maybe you have a few under your belt, you're not sure exactly what you're doing. Go through these, check out this whole video, and I hope that it helps you out. So without further ado, let's talk about 10 marathon mistakes and lessons learned. Okay, the first mistake and lesson learned is a two-parter. So I'm going to give you 1 and 1A, and I'm going to give you the 1A first. And that is mindset. You have to have the right mindset to get into running a marathon. The training cycle, what it takes to prepare for a marathon is too long, it's too hard, and then definitely the marathon itself is too long and too hard to just go into it halfway or just kind of nonchalantly or just whatever kind of attitude. You can. Anybody can do it. I know people that say, I just got off the couch and ran a marathon. Yeah. But for most of us, that's just too hard and too painful to go into it without your mindset prepared and ready to do what it takes to get it done. You can do it, but you're just gonna be miserable. It's just the training is just hard. It takes a lot. It's just in and out, and it's so long. Again, it could be 12, 16, 20 weeks, depending on how long it's going to take you to do it. And that's just a long time. We talk about aches and pains and getting up early And usually that length, you might even go through several seasons depending on which time of the year you're doing it. And it's hard. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Training and running a marathon is hard, and so it's painful enough in and of itself to not have the right mindset and attitude towards it. The attitude is key. Your attitude is key in how you want to do this, how you want to approach it. If you don't have the right attitude, more than likely you'll probably find a reason why not to continue going, especially when the aches and pains comes, and possibly even injuries. You got to know that you want to do this. I was running. I didn't run my first marathon. Went until I was 39 years old. And I've always wanted to run a marathon. I ran track from high school on to that point. Although I didn't know how to train for a marathon yet, I knew that it involved a huge commitment to it, and I just wasn't ready mentally. I'll just be honest with you, I wasn't ready. I was chasing the 20-minute barrier in a 5K in my 30s. I wanted to do that. It took me about 4 years to get it done, mostly because I didn't know what I was doing with that either. But I finally broke it when I was completely focused on that. Every year I watch people running marathons. I watched the Boston Marathon. I wanted to complete one and do one, but my focus was on that 20-minute barrier. But once I completed it, once I broke 20, I was just kind of like, okay, I climbed the mountain. Now what? What's next? And so I finally decided, okay, let's train for the marathon. My mind was ready, and I had plenty of years of running, and just I was just prepared to do it, and I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to do it, but my mindset was ready. And so it's really important that you really want to do this. Okay, so mindset is key, and that's 1A. But the first mistake and lesson learned is this: half marathon, 13.1, you are not halfway. Let me explain. When I was training for my first marathon, I ran a half marathon just as part of my training. And when I was done, I was talking to some friends of mine who were seasoned marathoners. And I went up to them and told them that I completed a half marathon. I was all excited. And then I made this comment, and I said, I'm halfway there to the marathon. I've just completed a half marathon. And both of them told me, no, you're not. And I said, what do you mean I'm not? I just ran a half. That's why it's called a half marathon. I just completed half. I'm halfway to the marathon. And they said, no, you're not. And then they said this. They said, oh yes, okay, on paper and mathematically, you're halfway. That 13.1 is half of 26.2, but you're not halfway physically or mentally. And I didn't understand that, and no matter how much I tried to explain it, I didn't understand it until I actually ran it. What they told me was this: the halfway point in a marathon is the 20-mile mark. And I said, what do you mean? How is the 20-mile mark halfway when I only got 6 miles to go? And they said, you won't understand it until you do it, but the halfway mark physically and mentally is about the 20-mile mark for most people. There's something unique, there's something even mysterious, there's something about that 20-mile mark that just feels like it's the halfway point because of this. And this is my experience. And if you're out there and you know what I'm talking about, please comment below. And again, if you're planning to run your first marathon, you're not going to understand this and fully understand it anyway until you actually do it yourself, like I didn't. And they explained it to me. Many people explained it to me. But until I was at the 20-mile mark for the very first time, I understood it. And this was my experience. The last 6 miles felt like I ran another half, physically, mentally. It felt like another half because of where you are physically at the 20-mile mark. In fact, some of the first few marathons that I ran, the last 6 miles almost took me as long to run as it did the first 13.1. So it actually felt like I was running another half, which is why mentally you feel like you're running, like you're only halfway there, and physically. And one of the reasons is this: the crash, when it happens suddenly. It happens to everybody, well, most everybody, in different ways. But we have this thought that like you start the race and you're slowly burning fuel and calories and running out of strength and power, and it's an even downhill to the finish line. And that's not how it happens. You're cruising along, and yes, you're burning calories and you're getting more tired and more tired, but it's not an evenly all the way through. All of a sudden it hits you, you hit the crash, which is why it's called a crash. Cars crash suddenly and rapidly. Nobody crashes slowly. And it doesn't happen slowly. It hits you, and then all of a sudden, it's just a down crash, down. And then for the next next thing you know, you're in survival mode. And it happens like this. You could be running and you're feeling decent. Obviously you're tired and you're running a marathon, you're tired. But all of a sudden you just, from one moment to the next, and when I say 60 seconds later, I mean 60 seconds. I'm not just saying that just to say it. All of a sudden you just start feeling something going on with your body, and then another 60 seconds, it's getting worse. And then before you know it, it's a crash, and it happens fast and suddenly. And then you're in survival mode trying to just make it to the finish line. You could have been racing, you could have been feeling great, you could have been even thinking about a PR, and all of a sudden that's all out the window when you hit the crash. And for most people, it happens at different times for everybody. But for most people, it's right around that 20-mile mark. And that's why the next 6 miles feels like you're running another half. And so, again, it's something that you don't fully understand until you're in it and you experience it yourself. But again, the mistake that I made was mentally. I didn't want to don't make the mistake mentally. Your approach towards this is very, very important. Your mindset. My advice is just, hey, just 1 mile at a time, 1 mile at a time. Don't worry about if you're halfway or this. Just 1 mile at a time. Run the mile that you're in. Very important. But here again, 13.1 is not halfway. All right, number 2. Second mistake, marathon mistake, and lesson learned is not giving yourself enough time to prepare for the training and for the race. People want to just jump up and just start training. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to get off the couch, run a marathon in 10 weeks. You have to give yourself enough time. Again, when I decided to run it, the guys that I was hanging out with, seasoned marathon runners, said give yourself plenty of time. And I was running, my whole thing is I run 5Ks and 10Ks throughout the year. And then around June, July is when I started training for the marathon. But that particular year, that first marathon, I think I ran my last 5K. It was right around August, end of August. The marathon was in November. Back then, they did it in November. And so I decided I was going to run, and they're like, you need some time. And it's like, what do you mean I had time? And so I got plenty of time. I have 12, 14, 16 weeks, something like that to get to it. So I thought it was plenty of time. But they were telling me, no, you need time on your legs to run and get acclimated. Let your body and your legs acclimated to running that much mileage. And I was like, I've been running for 8 months at that point, all year running 5Ks and training. So I'm well trained. And that year I broke 20-minute barrier. I thought I was well trained. And they said, no, it's different. You're different. They asked me, what is your long run? At that point, my long run was 7-8 miles. And I said, no, you got to give yourself time. Your body and your legs are not used to running an hour and 15, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours for those extra long runs, plus all the mileage that it takes throughout the week. You got to get used to it. And so I didn't understand it. The mistake I made in not having enough time, even though I thought I did because I've been running all year, was because I had to build a mileage really, really fast. The goal was to get to at least one 20-mile run. And I didn't have enough time to do that. I didn't have enough time to put some base mileage, some aerobic base mileage in my body, and that is so important. Let me explain to you this. A lot of people that, whether they're training for 5K or especially half a marathon or especially a full marathon, is let's say 16 weeks is enough time to train for a marathon. 16 weeks is plenty of time if you're ready to train for a marathon. The problem with a lot of people, or the challenge for a lot of people, is you're not in shape to do the 16-week training. So you have to get in shape to get in shape for the marathon. There's a prior process before that to get ready. And that's what we call the aerobic base mileage. Put a lot of miles in, just run, get your body used to running so that it can endure the training for the marathon, and then comes the marathon. So it's kind of like a three-part series here. And I was not, even though I was running all year long, I was not ready to train for a marathon. I was ready to train for a 5K and a 10K. I was ready to roll for that one because I'd done it all year. But for a marathon, the training that it requires for a marathon requires a different kind of strength and endurance that I didn't have. And so I built so fast to put the mileage in, and the obvious happened. My calves started hurting. And then usually when the calves hurt, either the Achilles or that plantar fasciitis is going to go. And it was a plantar. And so about 3 weeks to go, I had plantar fasciitis. I made it to the starting line of the marathon, but I ran my first marathon with full-blown plantar fasciitis, and it hurt. It was a miserable race. It was a miserable run. Plus, it was in November in Texas. It was hot. I think when we started, it was 75 degrees, and then by the time it finished, when I finished at noon, it was close to, I think it was about 85 degrees. And so it was terrible, and every step I took was just painful because I did not have enough time, and I put too much mileage in too fast and ended in injuring myself. And that's what that base mileage is for. Now, on my 12th marathon, I took about 6 weeks of just running. After I finished the 5Ks and 10Ks, I just put 6 weeks of just running 10 miles, 12 miles, 8 miles, 10 miles, 12, just right around that range over and over and over, just to get used to it, just to get my body ready and in shape to get in shape for the marathon. And so it helps. And so if you can get a coach, if you can get someone to help you out to get through it, to tell you what to do, because it's not just the base mileage is running a lot. I did a little bit of speed workouts. But then once I got into the training, then that's where all the breakdown comes in, where you're doing the tempo runs, the track workouts, speed workouts, hill workouts, all that it takes to prepare for the marathon. The base mileage, the aerobic base mileage that I did, all those miles helped me to be able to endure the training for a marathon. Now, I will say this. During that training, once you get into the training, if you can run a half marathon, I would throw it in there as part of the training, whether it's part of your base aerobic base mileage, or whether you do it during your training. Somewhere in there, it would probably be really good to run a half marathon. Just so you can get the feel of what it's like to compete that kind of a distance in competition, and practice with your gels and your nutrition and everything. You can practice everything on a half marathon. But again, as I mentioned in the first mistaken lesson learned, when you finish that, you are not halfway there. But it is a good goal to have, to at least finish a half marathon as part of your training, somewhere in there. So, but again, give yourself plenty of time. Mistake and lesson learned was plenty of time. Get yourself in shape, to get in shape, and have plenty of time to prepare for the training and for the marathon. Mistake and lesson learned number 3 is training plans. You have to have some kind of structure. You can't just go around just going to run every day, whatever, and just do whatever, and just in running. You have to have some kind of structure, some kind of training plan. Now, there are so many training plans out there. Here's where the lesson learned for me was. I looked and Googled and searched and YouTube, and there's so many training plans out there, so many good ones, good people that know what they're doing, and that got it down to a science. The challenge is this. We're all different. Everybody's different. Everybody's in a different place in life. Everybody's in a different place physically. Everybody's in a different place mentally. Everybody's in a different place in their life and in everything. And so not every training plan, it's not a one size fits all when it comes to training plans. So you got to find one that works for you. Just because somebody says, hey, this worked great for me, I PR'd and qualified for Boston, doesn't mean that that's going to work for you. I'm not the kind of guy I'm not a high mileage kind of guy. There's guys out there running 60, 70, 80 miles a week. I can't do that. I wouldn't survive that kind of training, especially the older that I'm getting. There's just no way. And so I have grown to getting more mileage during the week, but as far as me thinking I'm ever going to hit 60, 80 miles a week, that's probably not going to happen. So you got to find what works for you and what helps you get build and stronger. But there has to be some kind of structure. Again, it can't just be just running easy every single day. You do have to incorporate the speed workouts, the tempo runs, some kind of track workouts, some kind of hill workouts, a strength training. So there's a lot more to it. The easy days, remember, keep your easy days easy and your hard days hard. And then obviously that long run is very, very important. But you have to have structure, you have to have a plan, but you have to have one that's tailor-made and fit for you. I've looked at several plans, and I grabbed from each one of the plans that I thought would work for me. I tried it. What didn't work, I moved it and added something else, and just till I finally got something that works for me. But here again, every year's different. I'm older, and my body's different every year, and so it's always every year I'm working it, I'm tweaking it, I'm making it better, because I'm not the same guy that ran that first marathon 12 years ago or 15 years ago. And so I have to keep working, modifying the plan that best fits me for today. Next year, I'm already thinking about next year's marathon a year from now. And so, and I'm sure I'm going to have to modify and tweak that and see what works for me. But so again, you do need structure. Mistaken lesson learned was just running and not having any structure. That didn't work for me. You have to have some kind of structure. You have to have kind of plan, but find a plan that works for you. Fourth mistake and lesson learned in my journey of training for marathons is nutrition. You have to dial that down. Nutrition is so important. You cannot get through the training, and you're certainly not going to get through the marathon without some kind of nutrition. You might get through it, but you're definitely going to suffer. And so it's very important that you fuel your body, not just the nutrition during the run, but nutrition leading up to the run and throughout the training. It's that three-part cycle: is the recovery, the running, and the nutrition. All those come together, and it's just this cycle that one works and builds off the other. You got to eat well to go through that training. You got to know what you're eating and cut out some things and add some things. And sometimes add some things. I had to add some things I really don't care to eat. But it helps. It fuels me. But specifically, what I want to talk about today is the fuel during the run. There's so much stuff out there. I didn't know any about all this stuff when I was first running, and I made the mistake. I was, like I said, I was running 5Ks and 10Ks, and most of the races that I run are for the love of go. I got off the couch.com. You got to get involved in those. But Ms. Jennifer Crosby and her staff and her team that are out there, all those volunteers, always have all kinds of snacks after the race, good snacks too, whether it's bananas, granola bars, fruit, drinks, electrolytes, and depending on the race, there's all kinds of other stuff too. And so I got really spoiled with that kind of stuff. And me not knowing what I was doing when it comes to training for a marathon, I thought they were going to have that at the race. I thought every mile, 26 miles, they're going to have bananas or something. They didn't have anything throughout that whole race. They had electrolytes, Gatorade every 3 miles, and then I think like every 6 miles they had some gels. But here's the thing with gels. Gels is probably the most popular thing and the most easiest thing because you don't want to put something that's too heavy or something that you have to digest so much in your body, something solid. You don't need to add that kind of strain. Your stomach is already strained. It's already working hard. It's already stressed out. You don't want to put some really, really hard, solid food in there. And that's why gels are so popular. But there's so many different kinds of gels out there. And you have to find, just like the training plan, you have to find the one that works for you. I've tried many gels that people said, these are great and they work great. Well, they did for them. But when I took it and I ran out there, I got sick. My stomach was hurting. Some of them really bad. And it was a couple of times, and not to be inappropriate or gross here, but there was a couple of times that I was looking for the nearest convenience store. Because it just upset my stomach, and so I had to keep trying them out until I found one that worked for me. For me, the Honey Stinger gels, the Honey Stinger waffles, the gummies, all those they just work for me. But you got to find what works for you, and the only way you do that is to try them out while you're running, because there's something that happens to your stomach once you get to a certain point. High mileage runs. It gets really stressed out. They say that we only have fuel, even when our fuel levels are high and full, it's probably about 45 to 90 minutes worth of fuel, and then we're out. First of all, it's the refuel before the marathon, before the run, even in your training runs, because you have to train the way you race. However, you're going to have to train. We say you need to train your gut. You're not just training your legs and your body. You're training your gut to know when to eat, what works for you, what mileage, how much time. Some people do a time every 30 minutes, and some people do it every so many miles. But you got to find out what works for you, which gel works for you, and how many and how much throughout. And you can't wait too long. We're taking gels at mile 3 and 4, and none of us are hungry at that time. We don't feel like we need it, but we're filling up so that in mile 18, it's in me already. I do it every 4 miles because most marathons have Gatorade or some kind of electrolytes every 3 miles, and I don't want to do the gel and the Gatorade together. That's quite a bit of together. And so I do water every mile. Every 3 miles is the Gatorade, and then on the 4th mile is when I take my gel, because I got up and I ate some toast with some peanut butter and some honey for breakfast, or bananas or something. So I have plenty in my stomach to get me at least to mile 4. And then at mile 4, I start hitting those gels every 4 miles. Every 3 miles is electrolytes, fluid, and then every 4 miles for me it just works. And then probably mile 12, mile 15, I'm munching on one of those waffles, Honey Stinger waffles. But you have to find out what works for you. But the important thing here, the lesson to learn is make sure that you have your gels. Again, that first one, I thought they were going to have stuff every mile. They didn't have anything. That morning that I was warming up for the marathon, I think there was 20,000 runners in that race, and I'm warming up. And I happened to have some electrolyte jelly beans in my pocket. I think I had about 10 of them, and I was just kind of just popping them in my mouth as I was warming up. When I took off and realized after a few miles into it that there were not going to be any nutrition out there, me thinking there was going to be bananas and all kinds of things, and there wasn't. And that's just me not knowing and not being prepared for the race, not doing any research. They had gels, but they were the gels that I had already tried that upset my stomach, so I couldn't take it. So I had about 4 or 5 jelly beans in my pocket that I didn't eat while I was warming up, that I rationed out throughout the whole marathon. That's all I had. So I was kind of calculating everyone I could take 1 jelly bean. And I was trying to take Gatorade. Well, you can imagine that's the same one that I had plantar, and then I was dehydrated, and I didn't. Just felt terrible. If I had gone to the medical tent after the race, because I was nauseous, I felt like throwing up, they probably would have put an IV on me and possibly taken me to the hospital. I felt so bad, so terrible. That was a miserable run. I finished it, but it was miserable in all because I didn't know what I was doing. I had many mistakes and lessons learned from that race. But again, nutrition is very, very important. Figure out what works for you. There's so many out there. Try them out, and then get your structure of when you need to do it in that race. In your training, train how you're going to race, and then don't change a thing. Once you figure it out, don't change a thing. So again, mistake and lesson learned is nutrition. Very, very important. Okay. Mistake and lesson learned number 5 is shoes. You got to have the right shoes. It's all about the shoes, at least that's what they say. Then there's so many shoes out there, so many different kinds. The shoe industry has just changed, revolutionized running. When I was running back in the day in high school, there was nothing like what we have now. We went to Kmart. I don't know if y'all remember Kmart. You youngsters probably have no idea what Kmart is. We went to Kmart. You bought shoes. They didn't even come in a box. They were on the table with a little string on it, and you just bought them and picked them out. There was no brands, and you were good to go. And that's what we played in. We ran in. We did everything in those shoes. That's what it was. And so we didn't have all the different shoes that that we have now. Nike was barely coming out. I mean, they'd been out, but as far as running, they were just plain shoes. And there certainly were no super shoes back then. And so, but today we do. We have the luxury of having these really, really good shoes. You have to find one, again, just like all the other things. Find one that works for you. And it can get pricey. They say running is cheap. It doesn't cost anything, and that's not true. Yes, it does. And the main price is in the shoes. But it is the best investment you're going to make because your feet are the one taking all the pounding. Your feet are the one on the ground, and you need to have good shoes. And then obviously you need to find out which shoe works for you. And that's the best thing to do is go somewhere where they sell running shoes, specialized for running, and get your feet fitted, so that you get the right shoes on your feet. Now again, it can get pricey. So there's budgets out there, budget shoes. I'm always a version behind. The new version comes out, so the next one, the one before that, goes on sale, and that's where I usually hang out. I'm not one. Let me just tell you, this is just me. I think super shoes are great. I think they've come a long way. I've put them on. I've tried them on. I think they feel amazing. Okay, but here's my opinion, my take, just from me, and that is, I don't justify super shoes for me, because putting super shoes on me is like putting racing wheels on a minivan, on an old truck. It's just not. They're not gonna make that much of a difference for me. I'm not going that fast. I'm not telling anybody not to buy them. I'm just telling you about me. My son, he runs 15-minute 5Ks. I'm gonna put some super shoes on him. Okay, that justifies the price. But spending $250, $300 to gain a second or two, for me, I just can't. It's not gonna make much of a difference for me. I might just do an extra lap or an extra mile to gain those few seconds. But again, I'm not telling anybody not to buy them. I think they're amazing. I think they're the coolest things. Now, there's so many different kinds of shoes, but here's the thing. Again, from the cheapest to the super shoe, whatever, find the one that fits you and works for you. Whether it's a name brand or not a name brand, or it's not a shoe that anybody else is using. If it feels good to you, it doesn't matter what anybody else says on social media, on YouTube, or any running program says this is the greatest shoe in the world. If you need to try it on, it might not work for you. It might not feel good to you. So whatever feels good to you and whatever works for you in your run, that's the shoe for you. That's the way I see it. And so make sure, but because listen, when it comes to mile 20, mile 22, I don't care what shoes you have on, your feet are gonna hurt. Your feet are gonna hurt. But the better the shoe, the more it's gonna help to get through that pain. But as far as finding a shoe that you're gonna feel like you're on clouds all 26 miles, I haven't found it, and I've tried lots of shoes. This shoe that I wore for this 12th marathon that I just ran, one of the best shoes that I have ever felt. But come mile 20, my feet I was in pain. It didn't matter. But it did help me get through the last 6 miles. So they do help. They do help. And I didn't have a carbon plated shoe. And so it was really good. And so find the one that works for you. But it is important to get a shoe. Go get fitted, find it, use it, and train with it, and then use that same shoe for the marathon. So mistake and lesson learned number 5 was shoes. Make sure you get the right shoe on your feet. Okay, marathon mistake and lesson learned number 6 is tapering. You have to give your body enough time to recover and rest. If you did 12, 14, 16 weeks, maybe even a 20-week training plan, especially if you built up and did make it to that 20-mile long run, you definitely need to let your body, your legs, even your mind recover from all that running. And so it's very important. Some people think that they can just train right up until the marathon. And I mean, you can, but you're not going to give your body enough time to rest. And if I could talk a little bit to my older runners, I'm older. Because here's the question: how many weeks do we taper? Most people do 2 weeks, but I've now do 3 weeks, because the older I've gotten, the more recovery I need. And that's one of those things. Like I said, if I could talk to my older runners, we need to accept that our bodies, they're not the same anymore. Our mind thinks we can still do everything that we did when we were younger. But and in some cases we can. It's just that our body requires more time to recover from those workouts as before. Before I could run a long run on Saturday, and Sunday I was out running again, or doing another workout. And now Sunday is my recovery run, or just resting, because my body just requires more time to recover and reset. And so you have to find out what works for you, just like all the other things. Find out what works for you, what's best. For me, I switched it over to 3 weeks to allow me to recover. But I've also switched it up to 20 weeks of training instead of 16. So it kind of balances out. But you got to find out what works for you. Now, here's what tapering. How long do you do? You got to find out how many weeks you're going to need. Most people do 2. Again, I'm just doing 3 because I'm older. But tapering doesn't mean that we just sit around and do nothing. We're just going to sit around for 3 weeks or 2 weeks and just not do anything. No. You have to continue running. In fact, that first week, they're pretty much going to do the same amount of training, or as far as your days of workout. It's just less volume and less intensity. Whatever mileage you did, cut it down. You can still do your speed workouts if you're doing that, just less volume and less intensity. So you want to get those legs moving. And then as you get closer, less and less and less volume and less intensity. You just want a lot of more mobility and stretching, and allowing your body to just not stiffen up. Because the other extreme is this. Let me tell you, one of the mistakes that I made was on that side of it, of running up until the marathon, was there was the time, one of the marathons, I don't remember which one, but I teach classes, and so I remember something came up where I had to teach classes the last few weekends of my marathon training, and so I didn't get to do the long runs. My schedule only allows me to do long runs on the weekends, and so those last few weeks I didn't do any long runs. My schedule just didn't allow it, and so now I've got 2 weeks to go, and the last long run that I did was a 15-miler, and I felt so unprepared and a little concerned about running a marathon with only a 15-mile long run, and so I decided the week before the marathon I was going to do an 18-miler, and I did it. And I barely made it. I felt I was exhausted. I really had to grind out to get 18. So I was now even more concerned, because I could barely do 18, and a week later I'm supposed to run a marathon. But not only am I now concerned, I'm exhausted, because I only got 1 week to recover. And sure enough, I get to the marathon, and I'm trying to warm up that morning, and it's 20,000 people. We're downtown San Antonio. My family's waiting for me in front of a building close to the starting line. And I go over there, they're standing there by a patch of grass. And I remember laying down on that patch of grass and just feeling so tired and exhausted. I could have fell asleep right there. I was so tired. And just thinking, oh my gosh, I feel terrible. And the race hasn't even started. And sure enough, like 6 miles into it, 7 miles, my legs were done. And so it turned into like a 20-mile grind because I ran all the way up until the marathon. Didn't give myself enough time to taper. So tapering is very important. Now the other side is this. I'm older, and so like I said, I take 3 weeks of tapering. But you also don't want to just not do anything either. There was one time where I just rested way too much, and then when I got to the marathon, I just felt so sluggish, so sluggish. I felt my legs were stiff, and so it took me like 4 or 5 miles to get back into it and loosen up. And so that's the other side is that too. You don't want to just not do anything. So you got to find out, balance it out, continue moving, continue doing your workouts, but tapering. We're not building up anymore. We're coming down and allowing your body to rest. Fuel up, eat right, and most importantly, rest. Get a lot of sleep, as much sleep as you can. Go to sleep early. If you can sleep in on some days, sleep in. And then if you get naps in during the days, I know it's hard for some people, it's hard for me, but every once in a while I'll get a nap in. All that helps to allow your body to rest and recover and reset so that when you show up to the marathon on the day of the race, you're completely rested, your mind is rested, and you feel like you feel 100% and ready to go. So again, marathon mistake number 6, make sure you taper. Okay, marathon mistake and lesson learned number 7, and that's traveling. If you're going to travel, the marathon that I do every year is about an hour and a half away, so there is some kind of traveling, not too far, but they're still traveling. And so it's important if you're gonna travel, especially if it's far, you need to make sure that you know hotels, how close it is to the line, parking spaces, food, all that kind of thing. How far you're going to walk from the hotel to the starting line, or if you're going to have to drive to the starting line. All those things make a difference because you don't want to be all stressed out about all those things, unaware, on especially race morning. You want to be able to just focus on the run, get yourself prepared, and just know what you're going to do ahead of time, and that way you just focus on getting ready for that race. And then obviously the night before, the week leading up to that, is that you start preparing what you're going to take, start thinking about what clothes you're going to take, what shoes, start packing, looking at it, get yourself a checklist, whatever you need to do to get everything ready, because once you're gone and you're up there, you're last thing you're going to forget something. I made a huge mistake. Lesson learned is I don't know how I did this and why it happened. It's not like me to do this. But I had our thing packed up. We got bags, traveled. Again, it's an hour and a half to the drive. We leave on set the night before, and so we drove and got to the hotel. And then my family went out, and then they came. I stayed at the hotel to rest, and they came back, had dinner, and it was probably about 8 o'clock at night, where I was already kind of trying to get ready for bed. So I pulled all out my stuff, getting my clothes, my shoes, my socks, everything ready for tomorrow. So when I got up tomorrow morning for the race, getting up early at 4 o'clock in the morning, it was already ready and laid out. And I did not find my bib. I forgot my bib at home. I couldn't believe that I did that. It was still in the bag because we went to the expo. It was in the bag, and I left it on the couch, put it right on the couch so I wouldn't forget it, and I forgot it and left it there. And I couldn't believe I'm at the race. It is the night before, 8 o'clock at the hotel, and I have everything except the bib. And so I was like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do. I was about to jump into the car and just drive home, come get it. I figured it's going to take me an hour and a half to get home. If I left at 8, that's 9:30, and then grab it, come back, and in another hour and a half, I'm going to be home late and tired from driving. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, tomorrow it's just going to be a miserable run. So I was just kind of just accepted the fact that it was going to be a terrible run tomorrow. But then my son and my wife said, no, you need to rest. So just rest and we'll go. And I said, no, I'll go. It's my fault. I did it. And they said, no, stay here and go to bed. You need to be ready for tomorrow. And so they ended up driving back and getting it for me. And I felt so bad, terrible. It took me a while to even go to sleep. I felt so bad that they had to do that. Drive all the way back to home and grab my bib and then go back and they did that for me. And yeah, that's just terrible. And so now I really, really try to make an effort to make sure I try to make a checklist before, make sure that I have everything. Have all your stuff, know where you're going, parking, hotel, food, everything. Mistake and lesson learned. When you're traveling, get everything prepared ahead of time. Okay, mistake and lesson learned number 8 is the expo. Now, the expo is not a mistake. What I did was a mistake, and let me explain. The first few times I went to to the marathon. We would go to the hotel on Saturday, travel to the hotel Saturday, and then obviously the race was Sunday. But before we went to the hotel on Saturday, we drove up early. We would stop at the expo to go pick up the packet, and I love the expos. I think expos are so cool, the running expos, because they're all the vendors, all the new shoes, all gadgets, clothes, gels, nutrition, electrolyte. Every vendor is out there. Anything that has to do with running or anything close to running is out there. And so it's just a cool thing to go out there, and they're free, and you pick up your packet and you get your shirt and there's clothes, and it's fun. It's fun. You gotta be careful because you spend a lot of money in those places if you're not careful. But here's the deal. Here's where the mistake and lesson learned is. As fun as they are, they will wear you out. They will tire you out. You're in there an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then again, we just talked about traveling. So you probably have to park and then walk over to the expo. And then we went to the expo and we stayed in there for an hour and a half, just checking everything out, trying all the gels, trying sipping on the new electrolytes, just to try out new things and clothes and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, we walked to a restaurant near downtown. And then you go to eat and everything, and then you walk back to the car, wherever you park, however far that is, and then you drive to the hotel. So by the time you get to the hotel, I was tired. As much fun as I had, I was tired. And I did that for a couple of years until my coach finally told me, hey, you need to cut that expo out. You are wearing yourself out. That's why you're so tired on race day. Go get your packet and go to your hotel and rest. But I thought, man, I really like the expos. And so what I did was to kind of work it out between me is we go on Friday. Since if it was far away, I wouldn't do this. But again, it was an hour and a half away. We drive on Friday when I take half a day off, and we go on Friday up there, and we go to the expo, get our packets, walk around, enjoy it, go out to eat dinner, and then drive home. And then now I can rest on Friday night, go to sleep, and then sleep in on Saturday, and I don't have to get up and have breakfast, and then slowly make my way back to the hotel. I don't have to be at the hotel till 2 or 3 to check in. So I'm resting, sitting around all day long in my house until we take off, and then just go straight to the hotel, and then I rest. So then I get the best of both worlds. I get to go to the expo and have a good time there, and out to eat and do everything I want with my family, and then Saturday I just travel and go. That doesn't work out for everybody. You got to figure out what works for you. I'm not telling you not to go to the expo. I'm just saying those things will wear you out if you're not careful. So be careful with the expo. Mistake and lesson learned. Figure out what works for you, and make sure that you don't wear yourself out before the race. Okay, mistake and lesson learned number 9 is make sure you set obtainable goals, something that you can actually obtain and complete. Don't set yourself up to fail. And I'm not here to tell anybody what to do or what you can and cannot do, or what you're not able to achieve. That's not my place. I'm just saying, don't set yourself up to fail. If someone comes and tells me, someone who's never ran and tells me, hey, I want to qualify for Boston next month, we might have to set a different kind of goal. I'm going to say you can't qualify for Boston, but next month, and that might be a little hard to achieve. So set some goals. You need goals. You need something to shoot for, but make sure you know where you are, and make sure that you can actually do it. And so you want to set a goal that does stretch you, and make you work a little bit hard, but that it is possible for you. Quit worrying about what everybody else is doing or what they're achieving or what they're doing. You need to set your goals. My goal when I ran my first marathon was I wanted to survive it and finish it. And that was it. I wasn't setting for time. Now I had several goals. Number 1 is always to finish it, to endure the race and actually complete it. And then I had a 4:30 goal, I think. And then the high goal was to go sub 4 or low 4 or sub 4. I think I did 4:30 my first marathon, something like that. That's the one that was just completely miserable marathon. But I think I did it around 4:30, 4:40, something like that. But again, my goal was just to complete it, just to finish it. And so this past one that I did, this is my 12th marathon, was the same thing. And I was always trying to shoot for that 4-hour mark. And I did out of the 12, one time I did go sub 4. The best marathon that I've ever ran or been a part of was one where I removed all goals. It was just, I'm just going to go out there and have fun. And that was such a cool time. I think the year before I was injured, ended up just signing up for the half. And so I just wanted to just be out there and have fun. And so I just took my GoPro and just ran and made videos and stopped and took pictures and just enjoyed the run like I was out for a long run. And it was so cool. It took up pressure off all the goals of having to hit the certain time and every mile and trying to check my watch and make sure that I was on And I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just telling you one of my experiences. I just went out there and just my mindset was, let's just go have fun. Let's just enjoy it. And the scenery and everybody cheering and all the different places that you see. The route was just so cool. And so I had put so much stress on me and so much pressure to hit certain marks and hit certain things that I wasn't enjoying the run, the marathon. It was just a blur. And so that was one of the coolest ones, and it just kind of helped me out just to change my mindset a little bit as far as goals. But I still have goals. I had goals for this race. First one was to complete it. I would like a 4:30, and then obviously my high goal is always to go sub 4. But that kind of ended once I got into the hills, as I told you. If you haven't seen my video, you need to watch the marathon video. There was a lot of hills that just took me out. But I did go sub 5, so that was cool. But again, set attainable goals. Don't set yourself up to fail. And know where you are. Be honest with yourself. Set goals. Set them. It is important to set goals, but make sure they set something attainable. And set a few. Don't just set one. Set a few. And so plan A, plan B, plan C. Because like I said, this marathon, there's so much that can happen along the way. And so important to have goals, but make sure you set something that's attainable. All right, last one. 10th mistake and lesson learned for me was nothing new on race day. Please don't try anything new the day of the marathon. However you trained, that's how you race. That's how you run. That's why it's important to get everything down when you're training. What you're going to eat, when you're going to eat it, how much you're going to eat, how you wake up every morning, that morning for the race. That's one of the things that I practice during my long runs, is how I'm going to get up that morning, what time, how much, how to prepare, how to stretch out, when time to put my first breakfast in, all those things. What is it? What food you're going to take? Everything, you got to get it down there in training, so that you do it exactly the same on race day. They say we're creatures of habit, and it is so true. But you do not want to try new things, or the night before go out and eat dinner. You may be in you travel, go to a town that you've never been to, go try a new restaurant. If you're not used to eating that kind of food, don't do it. Just like you trained, again, go back to the training. Whatever you ate the night before for your long runs, try to do the same thing, or at least close to it. Of course, we want to go have fun and try out all kinds of things, but you got to be careful with that. And then obviously, you go to the expo, don't buy new clothes that you haven't ran in, or especially not new shoes. You can end up with a lot of blisters or just aches and pains, and just however you did it in training, that's how you need to do it in a race day. I remember one time that it was a multiple of these mistakes altogether, because I was training. One of the few first marathons I was doing oatmeal in the morning, just eating some oatmeal in the morning before my long run. So that's what I was going to take for the race, oatmeal. Except I forgot it, just like I forgot my bib. One race I forgot. I had it already prepared, left it on the counter, oatmeal. So I went downstairs to the hotel lobby, to go get some oatmeal, and they didn't have the oatmeal that I usually ate. And then also I like oatmeal with milk. I make it with milk, so I was used to that. And that one was to we didn't have milk, so we added water. And I remember from the very first bite that I took, it was just wrong. It just felt wrong. You know when something just is not right. It felt wrong. I took the bite, but I also knew I needed to eat something. I can just run a marathon without any food in my stomach. So I forced myself to eat it. The other thing I did is, leading up to that marathon that week, I was just like always reading running stuff and watching videos and YouTube and things, and just watching a lot of running and nutrition. And everybody was talking about protein and how much you need protein. And so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try some of these protein bars. And it was that Friday, that night before, the Friday before the Sunday race, we were out shopping for snacks and what we were going to take when we traveled. And I was in the protein bar line where all the aisle where it had all the nutrition and stuff. So I got some protein bars. I thought, I'm going to try these out. Everybody was talking about protein, that it helps so much. So I took some, and I ate some the night before. I ate a little bit that morning. Big mistake, because I hadn't eaten any of those protein bars or anything like that throughout all my training. And then I did all that, took off, went to the race. I take off, and I'm feeling decent. I remember I told you about the crash. The crash is sudden. I was feeling good, mile 8, mile 9. So here's what happened. When I got to mile 12, my stomach just fell apart. And it happened so fast, so sudden, just like I told you about the crash. I thought I was doing fine. And then all of a sudden, my stomach just fell apart. And I knew exactly what it was. It was that protein bar and the oatmeal that I wasn't used to. And so it was just miserable. That whole run was just terrible. And so don't try anything new on race day. However you train, whatever you want on the race, do it in training, plan it, work it out, fit it in, dial it down. That way in race day, you get up, everything is just perfect the way you want it. Nothing new on race day. Well, there you have it. 10 mistakes and lessons learned that I went through, that I had to learn the hard way, and I hope they help you out. If you're starting your marathon journey, I hope these help you out. And most of it, you're going to have to go through and learn yourself. It's just experience and trial and error, as I did. But if it can help you out a little bit to avoid or at least be conscious of these things, I hope that it helps. And to be honest with you, I've probably made many more mistakes than just 10, but I'll be here all day telling you about everything I did wrong. And I know there's so much more to learn. I don't consider myself an expert as an expert marathoner. There's people that have run 20, 30, 40, 50 marathons in a lifetime. Those people have it down. I'm still learning. To me, it's just the journey. I love the journey. And to me, it's just the excitement and the challenge of the marathon. I don't usually go out there trying to qualify for Boston. I just want to complete it and have fun while doing it. I really do enjoy the journey of getting ready for the marathon. But this is a science. There is some things that you have to get down to get it done and make it the easiest way possible for you. Because no matter what you do, it's going to be a little painful, a little difficult. Training and running a marathon is hard, but it is possible and it is fun. And when you cross that finish line, oh my gosh, it is life changing. Let me throw in one more, with just a bonus. Don't forget to celebrate. And I know we marathoners, we always celebrate no matter what. But I just want to throw it in anyway. A little bonus. Celebrate, wear that medal, tell everybody, post it, take pictures, enjoy it, wear it all week long, at least a week, take it to work, show everybody, celebrate crossing that finish line. You're a huge accomplishment. You're not part of an exclusive group. And so, celebrate. Don't be ashamed to tell the world what you did, because it is a huge accomplishment. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And if you are planning for your next marathon, I hope I see you out there. But as always, thank you for hanging out with me. Again, I hope this has helped. But if you could help me out and hit that subscribe button, that like button, and connect with us, we'll connect with you, and let's run together. Take care. Be blessed.